Good morning, Sam Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services. Oh, it should be afternoon. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sort of behind already. Good afternoon. That's the best way to start. Look at the time on my computer. How is everyone doing? I felt to go live. I've looked at all of the viewer requests from the comments that come in. Oh, good. We are being heard. Verify that. Take that out of the background. And when I get the any comment of a musician uh, asking me to slow the video lesson down because they can't keep up, I often have to remind myself I have all skill levels of young or sometimes musicians in general looking at my videos, and I always pitch uh, the speed of the video to stay within a 8 to 10 minute segment. So I will give advanced chords. I try to break it down as much as I could, but then hoping that the person who asked for the song an actual skill level, so that I don't have to say this is a C, this is a E, this is an F. I have several other lessons on YouTube that do cover that. So from time to time, I need to be aware that a lot of musicians are finding me for the first time. So I'm going to take time and take a half hour. Actually, let me just do that right now. Siri, hey Siri, give me an alarm in a half an hour.
Done.
So I now have a half hour alarm set on my Siri clock to let me know when to stop, so I don't make this a 2 hour plus session, because I want to be able to give a synopsis or a summary of the path of a church musician in training. Thank you for those that are coming in. As I say, everyone has an opportunity. How you doing, Anthony? An opportunity to ask questions, but I'm going to try and condense this to in half an hour. So let me do my welcome. So without taking too much time, as a uh, church musician, I had always wondered who's coming behind me. I can remember those musicians who were in front of me and how they refused to share information, that it was a personal thing. They did not want to, if that was their brand, as someone said in a conversation, they did not want to share that brand with me. They don't want to show me the chords. They don't want to show me, if it was an organ, what drawbar settings. They would push all the drawbars in. That began my journey of how can I help the musician coming behind me? Because now I'm having to have to, as they say, hear the music, run home, and try to figure out what was I hearing. And it was a struggle. I could not find the notes. I could not find the rhythm. Certainly, all the chords that I was hearing in my head, I'd be hunting and pecking to figure out, well, gee, this chord is in this key, but what was that next chord he played, and how did he reach that chord? So I'm going to show you, after 6 generations of workbooks in 2011, I came out with my seventh generation workbook, and I will show you that scene right now. If I can just look at where did I put it. There we go. That is my seventh generation workbook that was put together from all the materials that I had invested in throughout the years. I needed to be able to share with musicians coming behind me the very same information that I play when I'm playing. So this is it's an actual PDF book, and I've shared this in the past. I haven't shared this at all this year, but just to help the uh, those viewing my site who look at each of the viewer request videos and want me to slow down, my response is always, let me help you in catching up so that you will be up to speed. If I call out a chord name, or if you see a chord name, you will immediately know what that chord is, how to form that chord with your hands, and how it is structured in an actual song. How you doing, Gifted? Thanks for coming in. So this is the workbook that I put together. There was no. there was no, during this time, formal workbooks that was designed for the church musician. And seeing that I have spent a good majority of my time supporting not just one denomination, but three denominations in a 48-year time span. Yeah, 48-year time span. I could speak to all of those denominations. So let's look at this was an actual course. Should bring that down a little bit. You're not seeing the very top of it. Let me adjust this down. There we go. That's what was not being seen. This was an actual, when I was on the internet full time training church musicians, this was an actual course. So I kept this course workbook and I still share this course workbook because there's still a lot of information that I can even refer back to in the very rear. Just checking my timer. As I said, a half an hour, and then I want to be off from this. So this is where the information started. And I didn't just cover piano. As you see, I've got a keyboard there. That's a Casio 575R, which I still have. And that organ was my first virtual Hammond B3 organ. Um, I want to say it was Native Instruments. Maybe Native. Yeah, well, yes, Native Instruments Hammond B4. I no longer have that. I have the newest one now. But I put together a write up, words. I find that musicians don't like to read, but I was always an avid reader. I was a technician in my full time job, so I was always reading tech journals to help me understand what my job was, and the same thing for a church musician. And the way this book was designed was that the musician would take a course with me, and I would engage with them through email. So I would tell them, this is a large book. During that time, most people were getting printers in the house. They could print it out and actually turn it into a booklet, a reference book, maybe put holes in it, put it into a binder, and then take it with them to church. So that's a little bit about me. Again, this is 2010. I was much younger back then. I want to move me out of the way, or at least shrink me down a bit. Younger back then. And that's a write up from 2011. Can we please have this in the description after the live? Yes, I can do that because I can email this to you. YouTube does not allow me to store files that you can actually download. And I always wanted to set the tone for anyone taking my course to see what state of mind. We're talking about now people's thought processes and why they do what they do. Just get me out of the way. So I wanted to set the tone with a musician's prayer. Now, this prayer is not mine. I did not discover this prayer. I got it from the internet back then. I did a search. What kind of prayer can I put out here for musicians? Most times when prayers are being said, the musician is very seldomly left out or an afterthought. But because I wanted to set the tone for the mind of the musician, if you began every practice session with, if you don't have your own words, you can refer to something that was scripted for you. So that gets you to that point. Now we go to table of contents. Where does the new musician start? And this is where I spent the most time for the musician who is taking over a church for the very first time, or they have decided to make this journey their own. The things that the older musicians refused to share when I would ask: tips, scale practice. Do you have something I can look at to help me take home and maybe put on my keyboard to show me how to find notes? And then what kind of chords should I practice? As you can see, How many pages I got there? One, two, three, about 5 pages. Well, I'll show you the pages, because not only did I cover the new musician, which I think I may be finding a lot coming to my page for the very first time, and getting a taste of the advanced videos and a scratch in their heads. Slow this down. Let's get you started. And then the intermediate musician. That's the musician that has been playing at least 5 to 10 years. And 5 to 10 years might sound like too long a time to be called an intermediate musician. Trust me, I'm still learning, and I've been doing this since I was 12 years old, when I began in earnest to start to figure out what a piano can sound like, and I'm still learning. Trust me, I am still learning. Then we go to the musicians who don't need me. And I say this, the advanced musician, these are the 15-year plus musicians, the child prodigies, the musicians that can walk into any setting. They get the gigs, they get the studio gigs, they get the different sessions that they can walk into and just sit down and start playing. But I give them also, if they're coming from a different culture, and I'll use that word because that's what it is, a different culture, and don't know anything about preacher chords, don't know anything about hymn music, don't know anything about shout music, I give them also the same kind of information that I use, because no matter, sometimes musicians always want to hold what they have as their own and share it with a couple of people and say, well, no one else should get this. Why not? If the music is going to be an assistance in helping a church grow numerically because of the sound of the music, why should not any church that desires that kind of information be held from getting it? So I left no one out. As we continue, again, this was a PDF file which a person could print at home, so that if they wanted to write down notes, they could actually do that. And we continue. This is where the new musician starts. If you don't know how to properly hold your hands, what the numbering of the fingers mean, and what a scale looks like, you will be forever lost trying to understand what music is all about. You have to have an understanding that notes are played using your fingers, not by banging with your hands. Now I want to take you to, let's see if I still have that here. I want to see if I still have that scene. Tell you what, let's take you to this scene right here. There's nothing there. And I want to let's bring in a video. There we go, that's the one I want. That is my keyboard. And let's adjust the audio because I don't hear it. There we go. Now, why is this so important? If you don't practice right, you won't play right. And this should be the feature I want to do right here. Here we go. Let's turn that off. Give me a standard piano sound. If you're watching me right now, all you are seeing is my fingers moving. You don't see me doing this. You're only seeing my fingers move. That is what that first page is supposed to show you. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. and my hand stays in place and only my fingers move. Now, what is the significance of this? Look how easy I can go to the next key. I am able to go to any key I want to using that same process. So if someone is doing a run, my hands are already trained how to move by floating over the keyboard. This is what musicians refuse to show me when they're doing their runs. I'm like, how did you do that? They would remove their hands from the keyboard and stop playing. So that is why uh, in the booklet that I have, that I make available to anyone that asks, I want you to know how your fingers should fall on a keyboard, how they are numbered for a purpose, and a practice scale, which is what you see in the background, so that you could learn three different things: how your hands fall on the keyboards, what their names are, they all have an associated name, what they look like on sheet music, and how to properly place your fingers on them. So as you continue, you see I give you things in red for a reason, because there's a lot of information there. I give you the proper fingering for every major scale. Now there's probably a dozen. I think I did a video once. There's so many different kind of scales, but you need to know the proper fingering. This will keep you from getting fatigue in your hands by playing it. So if we'll look at, we'll pick a hard scale, the E major scale, where it shows the E major. Yes, E major scale, where it shows you it starts with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I always give 2 octaves. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be the ending, but I always give 2 octaves. So in this book, what the new musician would be required to do is to sit to the piano, look at the fingering, and just do this. Go back to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, for the 4 and the 5. 2 octaves. And go back down. You will see me do this on every one of my videos, and it is purpose driven. It is not to annoy the person who's asking for the viewer request. It is to program, and I use that term, to program the musician to always start a practice off in the key they're playing by playing that scale. Because I often state the chords I'm going to show you were built technically on the scale that's being used. Let me move my put things back in order here. Yeah, we are a little bit technical here. So that I'm watching my timer. We're all trying to get to that place musically. Me, I like taking the actual scenic route. I did the church thing, so now I've backed up a little bit to look at what I missed for being in church all those years and only playing church music. So I've backed up musically and say, well, gee, while I was doing this, I never learned how to do that. I never learned to venture into here, and by that I mean production, songwriting to a much grander scale than just doing it for a church. Videotape, which is what you see me doing right now. Audio, I was doing all of that during my church time, bringing in instruments, setting up sound systems, wireless microphones. I did all of that. So I'm taking advantage of all of that former training and applying that to what I'm doing right now. So now, where does the musician go after they've practiced scales? Well, you're going to practice more scales. The minor scale practice session. And this is the most important one that I like to use because when you listen to gospel music, everything is not major. There is a minor scale. Let me see. Right, harmonic minor. Now, why the harmonic minor and not the minor scale? They are both close, but I found with all the songs that I had to learn that went into the minor range, they used this one 75% of the time. And sometimes they would switch between them both. And then I began to build chords around the song that I could hear those scales in. And I don't just give you it in one or two keys, you get it in every key. Again, the more information you know, the better from a learning standpoint you will get to. And this is for the new musician. As I say, the advanced musician and the intermediate musician probably would just skim through these pages. I don't know. I need to know that. But the very, as I say, musician who is entering in playing in the world of church music for the very first time, you need to know that this information exists. These scales and chords exist. We haven't got the chords yet. These scales exist because when you hear somebody singing a song, um, let me see. I'm trying to think. What is the song that is still, um, if they're doing a Negro spiritual, if you're in the black church or the African American church, Wade in the Water. That is the D minor scale. The D minor scale. But you could also be in F. Let me see. I always do this. I forget to change my scene. I got the key of F there. Now, you would think that that song has always got to sound muddy like that, but when you have an understanding of the placement of chords, now you can go change it. I'm showing off now. I got to think about it. Diminished, minor. Now I got to think about it. A7 and D major. So what happens is that now from just practicing all of these different scales and major and minor, you can pick and choose which ones you would like to see used in the song. I see I've got some words right there leading into the next section. The melody line to every song is found in the root scale key of that song. That is, again, more information that I share with the new musician, and because I don't want them to get bored, I give them their very first song to be played in a gospel format. And this song at that time was one of the praise songs you would hear a lot of churches singing in the key of E flat, which means they would have practiced in the key of E flat. I would have hoped so. They had practiced in the key of E flat, and they would be able to look and see how I labeled out the chords for the right hand and for the left hand. Our God is an awesome God. Let me see. Now that song is in E flat, and one of the secrets about playing in E flat is that the C minor scale is the E flat major scale, depends upon where you start the root. That's the C minor scale. That's the E flat major scale. So if you know one, you know the other. Sort of cuts down the learning. Let's see, what did I give? There it is. They didn't get the whole song, but I gave them enough. This is for the new musician to all of a sudden start to hear why scales are so important, because you will find the songs that you want to hear that are prevalent at that time in those scales. Continuing on, again, more information, which I always felt is important. I talk about all the other scales I didn't cover and I wasn't going to cover because the two prevalent ones that I've been able to decipher heard in a lot of the music. Now, of course, today everything is kind of changed around. The songs are chord based now, not a lot of big chords, a lot of melodies based around 4 or 5 chords. So a lot of this is maybe irrelevant in today's music, but back in that time, there were so many songs coming out from so many artists. You had to be on top of where they were getting their chords from. So I gave exercises, made the person go and find the scale notes. This is how I know that they were practicing to each of these keys. And then I would also give some more chordings to help build and to start to foster the accord system in the new musician. We still haven't gotten to the intermediate musician. Trust me, I did not want to leave anything out. Then we get book knowledge. This is the books. These are the books that I had purchased. Let me move myself out of the way. On the left, you got the book information that spoke to the actual written theory from the experts, because I could not understand what I was playing any better than having an expert tell me, this is a root chord, this is a major chord, this is an augmented chord, this is a diminished chord, this is a sus chord. And then I would go out and get the books to give me an understanding as to what they were talking about. And then to the right, I break down how, as a new musician, you should practice. What's my timer says? It's going to start ringing on me soon. And now this is 2011 information. This is not 2023, but I'm just making it, let you see how music is as old as time is itself. Since the very first tones were developed, somebody had a structure to be able to show how to manipulate those tones. Even a guitar player, they can tune their guitar to a straight chord, and they can make music like that. But in order to really play it correctly, a guitar player has to know this is their tone. Those are the keys for tuning a guitar. I know that because I tried to learn how to play guitar and get an understanding. Didn't do well with it, but I understood. I learned the lessons from it. And I give you so much information from as a new beginner musician that it should encompass your day, which is why I also gave on the left, I'm going to bring it back down, a structured practice routine. If you're currently active in a church, how you should plan each of your practice sessions before you begin um, to work on the music that you're going to be doing in your church. A lot of musicians, again, would not share this kind of information with me. When I knew that a new song was being offered, I believe one of my viewer requests is they want me to do My Life is in Your Hands in the key of D flat. I haven't done that video yet. That's on my list, which keeps growing daily. I went to D flat. Let me change my Chordy app because I do want the correct note names to be shown. And I know I'm going to go over my half an hour. I would go to D flat. And there's my timer. So let's put it on a 10 minutes update. If you're liking, if you appreciate, I should say, what I'm doing and I'm showing, let me know by, of course, subscribing to this channel, and of course, giving that thumbs up like. That helps me to know whether or not I'm giving pertinent information that's relative here in 2023 for the church musician. How you doing, Mrs. B Flat? And hi, Micah. Yes, this is from my book, which I will post in a link to my email, which let's email me, and I have no problem sharing it with you. And you can share it with whoever you want to, because I don't believe information should be ever hidden from musicians. So My Life is in Your Hands. When I heard Kirk Franklin play this song, I had to understand how he was placing his chords around the melody, because he's a chord first, melody second person. So once I understood where his melody was, now was where is he getting his chords from? From You Don't Have to Worry and Don't You Be Afraid. Joy comes in the morning, troubles they don't last always. Right? Because F is in the scale. There's a friend named Jesus who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, E flat, why? Because E flat is part of the C major scale. Just lift your hands and say. So that's where his chord base is coming from. And you will find in my videos, I always break it down to, here's the chords, the bass chords of this song that you're learning, to show that practicing scales just work. I know I'm going to get a copyright, but that's okay, because this is information that I don't want hidden from the new church musicians. Because you're going to find that when you apply this concept to every song you want to learn, yes, I understand the number system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to 1. Diminish, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. He's also in the number system. 2, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1, 1, 5. I'm sorry, a 3, 1, 3, a 1 chord in F, 6, 4, 5, 1. Go back to that F, 6, a 2 major, a 5-1 major to the 1. So there is a reason why so much information is always good, because that you do want to be able to build on that, because I can look at it and hear it and find the chords in any key. If I were to go to E major, A. I'm sitting awkward. I should just put myself in my position. I generally like to keep my knees centered around middle C so that I can position my hands so that when I'm playing, I'm not stretching. But the scales give me my chord placement. And I'm going to the A flat. There's my minor. Dun, 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 dun. My minor scale. G flat or F sharp, because I'm in an E major scale. And it's all built on the scale. Change key. So when I get requests to change the key of the song to the key that they need to learn it in to support their church, I use this very same concept. I go back to the basics. Okay, it's in this key. What would it sound like in this key? What chords now will have to be changed because they're in now different positions? Where would the melody note, where would the lowest note fall? Where would the highest note fall? And that is all not from learning numbers, because some will teach that if you learn the number system, you can learn any song. I never taught the number system concept because I was never taught the number system concept. I learned how to play chords as a instrumentalist, and to be sitting and to be immersed amongst a jazz band where I could hear all the notes around me and I sat in the middle playing my part. So there were no number systems in that jazz band. Everybody had their part musically to play. Anyway, back to what I was doing. Once we get past the practicing, we learn another song, which again was prevalent back in my time. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary. And every time I look at this, I see where there were mistakes in how I wrote this one out. And I always tell people who get this book to omit some of the mistakes that are in there. Most of it is right. Some of it is not placed correctly. Key of E flat, G, F, E flat, G, E, F. Next line, F, G, A flat, F, E flat, F, A flat, G rather, A flat, G, F. Again, in the scales. So what I would want those who were taking my course back then to go back to their keyboard, look at the notes. We're in the D flat scale here. Let me change to the E flat scale. Having the correct names is correct. Now, what is correct? C sharp, D flat, F sharp, G flat. Book wise, there it's oh, okay. Another 10 minutes. Book wise, it is whatever the creator of the book writes. Is it E flat or is it D sharp? They call it E flat. Chordy gives you both versions of it. Whoever the composers of a song, they can call it whatever they want to. But I always go with the flats because it keeps me from having to say C sharp. Oh, we're in D flat. It's just my own personal prerogative. It's not wrong. It's sharp if you go up. It's a flat if you go down. That makes it kind of simple right there. E flat. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary, Lord. The scales let me know that's the highest note, that's the lowest note. These are the notes in between. So if you're practicing the scales, you should be able to play with just one hand. What is the correct way to play it? Whichever way gets the notes out. As you can see, I'm using 3 fingers. No, four fingers. So the pinky gets left out unless I'm doing a chord. And those the chords I gave? Let's verify. Because everything is a lesson. Every time you sit down to, that's not what I wanted. Every time you sit down to, there we go. What did I give? Every time you sit down to play, you're getting a lesson. So I gave melody, right hand chords, and bass. That's what I did. I knew I gave right hand chords because now we're learning the concept for the new musician how to now import your left hand from doing chords and playing bass. With your left hand doing chords. Okay, I gotta show the scene. That's correct and not keep talking about it. Because I want the musician to begin to build confidence in themselves. Those are the chords I gave. Just to have that confidence. Look at all the chords that you are now seeing built on the scales. I'm still in the major scales. Gonna go out of it a little bit. Back into the major scale of E flat. That pretty sounding chord, guess where it's found? Out of it just a little bit, a little jazz town diminish. So I stress scales, and I will always stress scale playing because when you want to learn the quickest way, any language, you want to learn its alphabet. The scales are the alphabet of music. It's only 13 notes, positioned in different tones. Every 13 notes, it repeats itself. So once you understand the ranges of any of the scales you're playing and the relationship of all of the first the major notes and then the harmonic, the harmonic minor scale, and just those 2 scales, any song you hear that's gospel infused, you will be able now to articulate it much better because you will know the language. You will know the alphabet. Oh, major, minor. Then you learn the rest. Sus, augmented. Let me see. What's the next one? Oh, a seventh. Major seventh. There's a difference. Seventh, major seventh. Why is it called major seventh? It's in the major scale. But to get this tone, it's got to be a flat seventh because you're still playing the seventh note in the range of the major seventh note, but it's just a flat. Those are the intricacies, the actual dialects that you don't hear from musicians. They'll say, "Oh, we're going to be in the one." Okay, what chord are you playing in the one? Oh, don't worry, just be in the one. No, give me the chord you want, because the chord will tell me if I'm in sync with you. It could be this chord in the one. It could be this chord in the one. How will I know what chord it is? I often say, listen to the highest note and work your way down and find out, is it in a major scale? Let me see. Hear the highest note, lowest note, and every note that you don't hear will help you build a scale that chord is built in. I don't hear that note, I hear that note. I don't hear that note, but I hear that note. I don't hear that note, but I hear that note. So now you are now that much closer to finding that chord that your ears are hearing without somebody like me giving you a heads up in this format. Let's go back to this page. So you got through that. We're still in the new musicians lessons, giving theory on the right. And now we start to break down chord names because it's all about understanding when you hear a chord. Oh, sorry. There we go. So if I call out a chord in one part of the phrase, I want to give you what that chord's name is and where it's found. The A flat. Not right. There we go. A flat minor seventh with a flat 3. This is before Chordy app was ever written. I would give you that information, and I created those actual images there. I downloaded a picture of a keyboard and put dots on them. This is before Chordy app was in place because I wanted musicians to get information, to get all the information that I had, which means whatever was up here, I would sit and look at it and go, okay, I want them to hear that chord. Why? Because when they put that bass chord with it, they're going to sound like they will sound like, wow, I've got a chord that I don't hear all the musicians playing. Other musicians are playing this, but I change one note and 2 notes and give you, Lord, prepare me. That's why those chords are there, to be able to help the new musician get a fast track, change their seats on the train of music a lot quicker. Of course, now we break into chords. This is still the new musician, the musician that is in the church right now playing and maybe have learned the number system. They know to be in the 1, they go to the 4, and they go to the 5, go to the 6, they go back to the 1. That is apropos for getting you, as they say, in the ballpark of playing gospel music. But now we want to get to where you choose what seat. Where do you want? Do you want to sit on the, let's say, court side? If you're in a basketball team, well, I've already gone 3 hours, or rather an hour. Again, I like to, because I'm looking at how many are watching, so I'm conscious as to making sure that I don't give anybody cut short the information that I'm giving out. I wanted musicians, younger musicians, to get comfortable. Get me out of the way. To get as comfortable as possible learning gospel music, because they're going to find themselves playing. I'm in the way of that C minor chord. They're going to find themselves playing these chords in church. Get me out of here. There we go. Go up here. And I just did C minor as the beginning point because I also always wanted the musicians to ask for more information. The different inversions. These are the chords you would hear in church music. And of course, I would always give the theory behind why I use the fingering that I use. The thumb is always in the root note of the chord. So when you look at a chord, if you're questioning what finger should I use, the thumb is always going to be in the root note. By root is beginning. Any plant starts off at the root. Let's bring this up. There we go. If you're in the key of C, there's the thumb. Any chords you start, that is the root. The thumb is number one. As we saw from the fingering, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, you learn how to move your fingers independently. For those who are Star Trek fans, I would practice this as a youngster. Live long and prosper. I would try to see, can I move my fingers independently? Thumb, pinky, index finger. We'll leave the middle finger alone. Fourth finger. The middle finger, of course, is by itself. I won't pull that out for this. I don't need to get YouTube coming after me. But I would practice this to see whether or not I could have independent movement. So when I went to the keyboard, for those who have taken Hanon, I did not take Hanon lessons, but I did see a video for those who do the Hanon lessons. I had my own version. I like cartoons. That's what I would practice. Been a while since I had to do that. But that's what I would practice in every key. That was my Hanon exercise. But your thumb is always going to be the note that determines what the root of any chord that you're playing. And of course, if you add your left hand, that now the lowest note from your left hand will determine where the root key starts. Come on, go back all the way down. I may need to change the battery. There we go. Again, information that has been hidden from a lot of, hey, how you doing, Twinny? Hidden from a lot of church musicians. How to navigate a keyboard so that first of all, you don't stress your hands out. As you can see, when I was playing there, I felt no pain. I've been doing this for many years, over 50, we're going on 60 years. Yeah, coming up on the 60-year mark, I think next year. I started playing piano when I was 8, banging on it basically, without an instructor to tell me this is how you practice. I've never had issues with my wrist. I've never had fatigue. I've never had, and they may have gotten a little bit stiff after a 6-hour all-day service playing a piano. But I can still sit down today and learn someone give me the correct way to play anything, and I go, gee, I never did it that way. Let's change over from the 4th finger and use the 5th finger and work it like that. But as you will see in some of the books, information I give you, it does spell out which fingers to use in learning. And once you start playing, it becomes different. So I give all this information out And then I would say practice these chords to this familiar song. And I believe this is Oh How I Love Jesus. So if you could sing, I gave you the bass chords to being able to play a familiar song for church. That was all for the new musician. To get the new musician comfortable. Just change my scene here. To be able to start off the new musician in a way that they would um, get actual book knowledge, experience knowledge, and playing chords into some of the more basic songs that you can take to any song. Any of the chords that I've shown in Lord Prepare Me to Be a Sanctuary and in Our God is an Awesome God, those songs can be transferred into some of the songs that you're playing today. The minor chords can fit with the songs that use the 6-4-1. Let me see, they go to minor, major, major, minor. I'm thinking of the songs. The 6-1-4-5 songs. Those same chords can be applied. If I were to take the song, there's so many of them that use that format. We'll go to. Am I still in E flat? Still in E flat. If I were to go to the song "Break Every Chain," let me go to my scale. I know it's the major scale. There's my harmonic minor scale. I'm trying to think of the song. There's my scale. The entire song is in the major scale, but it's using chords. My 6 chord, which is the minor. My 4 chord, which is in the major. My 1 chord, which is the major. And there go my chords now being formed from the scales. Now that I've got my melody down from the scales, I've now structured my chord family names: minor, major, 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 C minor, A flat, E flat, B flat. Now I can build on that. One more time. Now I can go outside the melody. I can take it now to a range higher. I can build up from the chords because, hey, no problem, 20L, that's fine. I can now investigate and use all that practice. Again, I said that the minor scale, C minor scale, is the E flat major scale. So the song is written in E flat using the C minor scale for its melody. Go jazz. all of the other movements that I've heard in every other song can now be incorporated into the minor, major, major, major. You know, it's going back to the minor. We'll now add a transition. We know we're going back to the sixth chord. How do we want to get there? Oh, go back to the way from the five. All scales, combining the C minor scale and the E major scale within the song. And you will find by applying the basic theory of scales, not just major, but the minor and the harmonic minor scale. I put them both together because songs do change. Every song that you approach will become easier to learn because you just apply that basic knowledge. Now, for those who preach the number system, I am not against the number system, but I say teach alphabet along with the numbers. 6, 4, 1, 5. Alphabet. G, C, E flat. This is the alphabet. E flat, A flat, C, because we're in the E major scale. Alphabet. G, B flat, E flat, B flat, F, B flat, D. Teach the alphabet along with the numbers. This way it'll resonate with the listeners that are learning the number system, that if this is the 6, you can also put this in the 1. What is that? It is 6, 1, 4, 5, 1. 4 plus, which is an A. 5, 2, that'll 2, 7, 3, 5 plus 6. As you can see, I'm trying to picture where the numbers would be instead of picturing. What I usually do is what chords are available to me for where I want to travel to. Transition. That's how I learn songs. What chords are available to me for where I want to go? I want to be in E flat. I want to go to A flat. I want to go to B flat. I want to go back to B flat. E flat rather. Go to G, 7, C, F minor, E flat, A flat, F, B flat 7th. And I think I will bring this to a close because I've already gone past my half hour mark. I'm looking to see how many are still with us. We have 15 currently viewing, so I don't like to leave anyone without asking if you have any questions to what I've been covering. As I say, this began when one of my viewers questioned that the song, which a viewer request song, was, could I make it easier because they are a beginner? And my response was, again, never negative, because I realized I was one time a newbie, a beginner, and it wasn't until I began to be immersed in the sound of music as a instrumentalist that I begin to now absorb everything that was being taught around me. The tones, high, low, medium, the sounds of chords, major, minor, diminished chords, I could hear them around my head. Whenever you see me play, I'm hearing the lowest note to the highest note and every note in between, and my mind is telling my hands how to get to what I'm hearing. And if I miss a note, I'll go back and look at how did I miss it. I will generally be thinking 3 or 5 chords ahead when I'm playing any song, determining which one do I want to use. What era of music did I learn do I want to borrow it from? Do I want to borrow it from a classical piece? Do I want to borrow it from a jazz piece? Do I want to borrow it from a spiritual piece, from an anthem song, from a gospel song? All that is happening at the same time that I am playing. And by the time I land on that chord, if I've once I've sifted out what chord I want to hear and I play that chord, if I don't like it, the whole process begins again. And that chord gets eliminated from being added in. If you watch a lot of my videos, you will see I will start one way and end differently because those are all the options learning theory, the basic theory of music offers to me. And what I should cover, which is what I didn't cover, because I ought to bring this in. I don't want to. They say that if you, after 10 minutes you lose your audience. So as I see people coming in, I say, well, okay, I got a different, some more viewers. I can talk another 15 minutes as they come in. What I didn't show you is what's coming further on in the book. Now we've got to the, turn my view here, to the intermediate musician. These are the musicians who have been playing 5 to 10 years. And I get a little bit more personal with them. I now give them, as I say, that language of chords, and not just your bass chords, but a different variation of chords that you can add to, oh, how great is our God. And I put it in the key of C so that they can see all these chords are found in the C major scale. Continuing on, I now start to give them how to set up a music department in their church if they're first-time musicians. Then we break into playing hymns and spiritual songs used in the church. Why? Because these are now your more intermediate musicians. How to play instrumental improvisation. These, again, information I gotten from books. Okay, if it's in red, I want to emphasize the thought that's being expressed. Then I give them practical songs. Again, this is 2011. A lot of this has changed. They're no longer doing processionals anymore. They're no longer having altar call songs, because I hear the songs that they're now doing. So this is maybe not, no, another 10 minutes. These songs may not be apropos for what is happening in today's traditional church. I am aware of that, but all music is good for reference, something to go back to. Now we're learning scale music. If you're going to be reading from a hymnal, as I say, nobody sings hymns anymore, so it may not be apropos, but it's nice to know that you can assign fingers to notes when you want to look at learning single music. When you see me play, I'm assigning my finger to notes in a scale to a song, so whenever I play, I can look away and chord while I am playing. And let me demonstrate that, because this is all part of, for me, getting a church musician comfortable. If I were to sight read a song, again, I always push the African American Heritage Hymnal. If I were to sight read a song, just open the page up. Let's find one that can be a good one to sight read. Pass me not, O gentle Savior, key of A flat, for those who may have this. Camera's going to be in the way. It's number 435 in the key of A flat. As I look at the I'm sight reading. My fingers are being assigned a note in the scales. I don't even have to look at it, because I already know how to assign my fingers the notes. I don't even have to look at my fingers, because they are being assigned notes. So I can now sight read without looking. So now I don't have to look at the keyboard because I already know where the scale is. I can concentrate on the notes that's written and just look at. If I want to look at the next note, I'm doing the alto part, just sight reading. E flat, the note change. Put them both together. I don't have to look at the keyboard because they know where they are. This is from the book, and I'm just sight reading while my hands are playing the notes where they are. So now that I've got that much down from sight reading, because I practice playing scales all the time, and I practice sight reading notes from being a instrumentalist, I have enough now to build chords around it. Picking styles. Hear my humble. If I want to go outside. Outside, why on others now? I had to hear that change. The major on the here. And that's how I would learn hymns. Learn the melody, which is your guide to the song. Learn the alto part, which helps to, in some hymns, they stretch it out like that. And then add the other additional chording to it that'll help to bring out that song. I honestly can't believe you don't have thousands of viewers all the time. No, I realize that that I have competition. There are sites that do get more than me whenever they go live, and that's okay because as long as some information is getting out, I like to catch those who want to go a little further than what some other sites will actually take them. And that's okay because at one time I didn't have anyone coming to view what I was doing. So I'm just thankful for those who do come and listen to this old guy share his experiences, not just from a day or from a year, but from decades. And still, as I say, I'm still in training. I still go to other musician sites and I learn too. And then I just add that to my repertoire, you might say, to be used at a later time. So let's see, what else did I not cover? So that gets you, for the intermediate musician, these products are no longer available because that was 2011. Then we go to the advanced musician, and I always say these are the musicians that don't need me. They know it all already, and I'm thankful for them because they hold it down. They keep the churches going. They are the backbone of music in churches. But if they ever thought that they get stuck on something, they could come to this and get something that musicians would never share is drawbar settings for the organ. That is that next step up for every musician, not to the keyboard, but to the organ, because the organ is still the prominent instrument in any church. That for some genres or some congregants, if they don't hear an organ being played, they don't believe they've had church. So this is why I share not just my settings, but settings that I found from other musicians. So these are settings that have been used by your prominent musicians, and I put some of my settings in there too. During meditation time, testimony service, when the speaker is talking, those are my settings, not just the right manual, but the upper manual, but the lower manual also. Because with an organ, you've got two manuals that you can play at the same time, and your feet. So I kind of give it all. Again, why hide it? And an understanding of playing the organ. For the advanced musicians, church musicians, do's and don'ts, in case they get caught, of course, I tell them to take a break. And then we go into the progressions that perhaps they have never thought of practicing. I give you the bass hand, the left hand, and the right hand. This is that, again, this is all training. And new musicians are always welcome to read ahead, because if they're advanced in their learning, why shouldn't they have the advanced information available to them? Look at all those chords that I freely share. I give them assignments. Preacher chords. Again, this is old. It's a lot. It's changed now. If I were going to redo this page, I would redo these chords. But for a musician who does not have preacher chords, I give patterns that I've used back in my day. It's probably changed now. And wow, going into over an hour already. And I also give chords in every key. These are the chords that musicians would not share. We do also learn some, at this time I call it a hymn moment. You need to know why a song is written, the lyrics of the song. I always felt the lyrics of a hymn would help a musician in his playing that hymn. Then we get into, from the African American Heritage Hymnal, some of the pages in it that were prevalent in learning songs. Again, I try not to. In fact, I made these lessons also, so that they can understand what kind of chords. This one never didn't print right, so I tell people bypass that. This is the most important part of this booklet, that every musician needs to know. How many chords are there? As you see, I have the ability to jump through to any chord I want to at the speed of thought. I didn't just make up chords, I got chord information, and I share that information. Here we go, the easy stuff, and it builds from there. These are all the chords in the key of C, in the key of D flat, in the key of D major. Look at how many chords there are, and these are just one hand. These are not two hand chords. In the key of E flat. So every chord you hear me playing is because I went through this and learned where they are found, what fingering I could use, what bass I can assign to each of these chords. And when I got comfortable enough, went on to the next chord and the next chord, in key I should say, and the next key. This is all the information that church musicians of my day, I won't speak of today, maybe they're a lot freer today, but of my day, refused to share with me. When I heard them play it and would ask, they would stop playing, or they would say, well, you need to just go and ask God. And no, I didn't ask God. I went and I got the book. If they had this book, they did not tell me what this book was, so I made it sure that no musician that would learn from me would ever have to have chords in every key hidden from them. Again, look how it is continuing. Every key. Look at all these chords. They all have the same name, but they sound different as you change keys. That's the last page. That was and is still my desire that musicians get information along with how to apply it, but not just, oh, do it like this, but here's how the music has been so strewn together for those who want to play, especially play for a church. You never want a musician to be hindered because of lack of knowledge. What is it? In all thy getting, get an understanding. I believe in giving an understanding. Learn the nature of fingering, learn the application of playing major scales and the two minor scales, harmonic minor and the minor scale. Learn how certain songs apply either one of these scales in the songwriting and the composition of your generic or standard songs used in church. And then as you learn the more advanced songs, which is what the viewer requests are about, give me a song that you're currently learning, that you're having an issue with getting an understanding of. I give a quick 8 to 10 minute synopsis. Some songs require more because I'm assuming that musician is really stuck, and sometimes I do get stuck on a song, and I'll bypass that song for the easier ones because the easier songs will help more musicians than my spending an hour trying to break down a real hard song. Sometimes I'll look at it and I'll go, no, this song, private session for this song, because now you're taking me away from the dozens of musicians who I could be helping right now versus learning one hard song. So I will postpone some songs, and sometimes I'll go back and I'll say no, not enough for me. Go to the other sites where those guys are teaching these chords, because I believe in the traditional sound, the sound of church. If I want to be a neo soul musician, then I wouldn't do traditional. These neo soul and these wild contemporary sounds, which were, as I say, written by church musicians, not written by the singer. The producer said, "Oh, I got a guy that can chord this," and I would listen to it and go, "No." A lesson for an actual private lesson. So I do sift through what I'm asked to learn so that I don't kill my ears trying to hear 5 chord changes before the verse starts. Let's see if I missed any questions. Is your book still available? Yes, I will put in the chat my email address so that you can request Sound of Joy, that copy. From the time that I began doing workbooks on the internet, this is the 2005, I think was the first book, to 2011, it was well over 500,000 downloads. And that rang up my internet bill. So I had to get off the internet because it rang up my internet charges so high from the downloads. I said, no, I can't do this for free. And again, this was a free. I was never charging. The only time I charged, that's my email. Uh-oh, that's incorrect. Oh, yes, it is correct. I forgot it. It highlights my name there. The only time I would charge if the person wanted an actual specific lesson that I said, well, gee, this is time consuming for me. If it's going to take my time, you have to pay for my time. But if I can give it to you for free, if I can show you how to learn the song so that you could learn the song on your own time and not me have to take the time to break down the song, that's even better. The old saying that if you could teach a person if you can feed a person a fish, you feed them for a day. But if you teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. So I believe in teaching you how I learn songs for church. Now you will see me post sometimes some R&B shorts. That's because I'm trying to invite another audience into my realm of music to show them that their chords are the same chords played in church. They're just played re, re, repetitively. That's the word I want to use. They just keep repeating the same chord every 8 measures, with maybe 1 or 2 phrase changes. a way of getting clicks and views to my site. But the more eyes I can bring into this site, the more information that they can also view, because one day they may want to play for an opportunity may come to play for a church, and why not give them a pathway to a site that can also add to what they have been doing musically. As I say, I'm not hiding my chords from anyone. I had one person say to me, "Well, why are you sharing those chords? You know, over in Japan, they could sound like us." I said, "Is that so bad that the sound of traditional gospel music is being played correctly in another country? Is that so bad? Are we not to go into the world with everything that we know and teach them?" Sometimes you need to educate people beyond their feelings. And I'll stop my alarm because I've gone over my 30 minutes. And I do get on the soapbox from time to time. Sometimes you have to educate people to get out of their feelings and get into their purpose in life. No, I don't know when my hour, as they say, hourglass of sand will run out, but I'm hoping that the YouTube stays around long past me and people stumble upon this site, or at least recommended it from those who have lived past my time, to say, there was a guy who did care about every musician being able to support a church. Right now, church can be anywhere in the world thanks to um, the events of the 2019 to 2021, where everybody was online for a period of time. It sometimes I can listen to musicians who are playing songs online, and I say, gee, if you just come to my site, that chord that you're using in that song, you would have 5 chords to substitute that one chord that you use every time through that song. And that's all I look to do, is to give musicians more more ammunition music wise when they're playing. When I listen to the sites that are teaching jazz and I'm learning from them, and they're telling me, "Oh, learn these changes and now learn these same changes in every key." I said, "Well, that's what I do in my site. I give you these chords for this song in the key of C, but if they're singing it in the key of D, those same chords can be applied in this key of D. The same concept, just a different genre of music." So that's what I look to do. Give as much information, as they say, as the person is able to absorb. And when they want to jump the line and go into the advanced, they'll learn that, wow, I need to go back in line and learn all this basic knowledge and just keep building on that, so that when I get to the advanced stage, I don't have to relearn the beginning music. I'm now 45 now, so maybe they were a bit nicer in my generation. I was like 14, 15 in the Kojic church. Yeah, that's where I was in the Kojic church. Left there after 25 years. At the time, parents forced me to play organ and piano and drums. Yeah, my father was a church musician. My uncle was a church musician. My cousins are church musicians. My brother was a church musician. I was a church musician following in that genre, but I wanted to play more than just church music. So I brought in, I would think, during my time when they were still transitioning from the anthems, spirituals, and hymns, and fighting off that sound of gospel. Gospel to me was jazz chords. So I ushered in my era at the age of 19 and 20, still learning to play anthems and hymns and spirituals, but I ushered in a seventh diminished, a minor 6 chord, a jazz phrase, ba da ba da ba, in a song, and people enjoyed it when I played. I have to put it like that. Yes, when the senior musician played from the hymn book and played every note in the hymn book to a hymn, when I was playing that same hymn, we I picked it up a little bit, put that pop in it, added those changes. Um, what's that song we used to march in on? To come we that love the Lord and let our joys be known. The children of the heavenly host, the children of the heavenly host. Oh, we're marching to Zion. Trying to remember. I used to know all those words. I would always play the piano when the major musician would play, who was a skilled book taught musician. She played it exactly the way it was written. But when the opportunity came for me to play We're Marching to Zion in the key of F, because I knew the hymn book version of it, but I wanted the song to carry, and I will leave on this song. I wanted the song's approach or tune to be memorized by those who were singing. Again, using the same concept of hearing the scales in any song that I'm playing. All in the scales. So I would look at that and I would go, when I was the organist or pianist, and I would play the song. Keep it traditional. I still have to remember that there was a bishop sitting there who didn't want to hear jazz chords. So I stayed within the concept of the melody, but I stuck a chord in there. To Zion. That wasn't the chord she used, but the chord I used. Now those weren't the chords she used. She was strictly hymnal. But now I got to incorporate movement. To those who refuse to sing, who never knew our God, the children of the heavenly King, the children of the heavenly King, thus surround the throne and thus surround the throne. There it is. So those changes were not part of the norm, but I introduced. All in the scales. Beautiful, beautiful Zion, marching onward to Zion. Diminished, beautiful seventh of God. Not no, but this right there. So that's what I look to continue to show, where the musician who finds themselves in church has the tools that they need to be able to supply music in any form to the audience that they have, be it a youthful audience or an aging audience, which I would be now considered part of, the old people. That's what I would be considered, over 60, approaching 70. Well, again, I thank you. I said a half an hour. I turned off my watch so that it would stop alerting me. I believe I'm at, I want to see how much time. Well, it's over an hour. But I do, again, thank those of you who had come in. I always like to acknowledge those. Anthony, Git, Micah, Mrs. B. Flat, Twinny, Poppy, is your book still available? Yes. 20 and really not a musician, especially church. Okay. 45. Yes. So I think I've covered everyone that has come in. For those who did not type in the chat, you're always welcome to type in the chat. I will talk with you once I stop all my conversation. I'm showing what I'm showing, and this is just again put together for the musicians who are watching my viewer requests, which I still every time I think I'm going to catch up, 3 or 4 more will come in. Let's see if I can. I don't think I'm still sharing that page. No, that page has changed where I can show you all of the viewer requests that I have. And Gold Star, hey, welcome. Gwen Clark, thank you for coming in. But still on my list, I have Sacrifice of Praise by William Murphy. I have May the Lord God Bless You Real Good, Blessed Quietness by Reverend C.L. Franklin. We did Fix It Jesus. He's Able in D flat. I guess that's the Kirk Franklin song. Joy Will Come by Albertina Walker. He Giveth More Grace by Marvin Winans. I did that one already. God's God, it's done. Other Side is done. Clap Your Hands is done. He That Believeth, there was a request to put it in the original key because they had asked for it in D. It's in F. What else is in there? Did I do that one? Tip did that one. So yes, and I get viewer requests every day, and yes, sometimes I can become overwhelmed by them, but then it just lets me know that there's information that's being requested, and I've always said in my earlier days that if I ever get to a point where I can show a musician how to play a song that they're having an issue with, I would never deny them. As I say, when I get the requests from these real musically produced songs, like they were produced by a not want to say a rock musician, but a neo soul musician that has 20 chords before you get to the verse, I will immediately put that to the side and go to the person who wants to learn a song for their church right now. Then I'll go back to that song and go, okay, what are they doing in here, and what can I possibly decipher from these chords? I've had a couple of those where I just said no, too much time, and give me a headache trying to figure out why they went from this chord to that chord to this chord to that chord just to get here musically. So for those that are watching, I believe we have currently 18 who are watching me now. So some have come in late. You're welcome to watch the restream. I've been trying to cut these down so that you're not looking at 2 to 3 hours of the video, but I do cover a lot in this one. So if you are a younger musician or a newer musician who needs some what I call basic breakdown of how I teach my songs and why I stress scales in every song, that's covered in the first 30 to 35 minutes of this video. Again, I will share the workbook for those who may jump ahead right here. That is the last page of the workbook, but the very first page, and it's 34. I think it's 34 pages. Did I number them? 45, 46, wow, 48, 53 pages. There are 53 pages of information. Every page is going to give you something that you can use no matter what skill level you're at, and all designed with one group in mind, the church musician. This was all done for the church musician. So for those who join in on it, who are not church musicians, and you want to know what is it that I'm sharing, my heart and my will is out there to support people who serve the church, the Pentecostal church in what's the word I want to use? I always want to try to use the right word. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't even see me. There we go. Now I'm in frame. The Pentecostal church musician who find themselves in any state in the country or in the world, and who are, I don't hate to use the word struggling, who don't have the correct information in front of them. And I've learned that my skill set only started getting better once I was supplied with information. And the internet again allows me not to just present to you it written down, but to show you in live one-on-one fashion what you would get from if we were having one-on-one lessons. The viewer requests allow me to, as inexpensively as possible. Again, I pay for the internet, I pay for the equipment, to maintenance of the equipment. That's my way of giving back to the music community of church musicians, because I always looked at it. For some people, want to call it a ministry. It's a job, and on a job, you need training. And a lot of musicians are sent out into the field of music to work with no training. They just jump on, they'll get the keyboard, or they'll play the piano. Back in my day, was a honky tonk piano, a spinet piano that the church could afford. Most times it was detuned. I learned how to play on pianos that are not in tune. But when I began, I was playing on an actual Steinway, which is why I love the sound of the piano, because I played on the Steinway for 15 of my first 15 years as a church. First 15 years, it's first 15 years as a church. I played on the Steinway. But my father, who is a B3 Hammond, I should say Hammond certified, change my saying. My father, who is a Hammond organ certified technician, always had a Hammond in the house that he played on. So I cut my real teeth playing the Hammond organ. You may think that I'm a professional piano player. No, I do I play the organ better than I play the piano. You've seen some of my videos of my simulated Hammond organ, but I'm really a Hammond organ musician at heart. That's where I cut my teeth in music, where I'm allowed to use every aspect of that instrument to get the particular sounds out of it. Some people would used to say I make that organ talk like a human. That's how much I enjoyed manipulating the sounds of a Hammond organ. Can't do that online virtually, but we do the best we can with what we have. So, thank you all for coming in. Those who will be looking at the replay, if you view this to the end, I hope that I've got something there that will help you and assist you and, of course, give you understanding. For those who are going to email me, once I get your email, make sure that I've got it right. Soundofjoy123 at gmail.com. I will send you a copy of the PDF. It's an 8 meg file, so it is a big file because I got a lot of information in there. And I have to often say, use what you can to get what you want musically from that information. I'll make sure I didn't lose any comments. Thank you for the lovely evening. Struggling is a perfect word in my case. Oh, no, not struggling. You are looking, you are searching. You are searching. And I try to cut down that time. I would often wonder if I did get a chance to go to the Berkeleys, to the Boston College, in my area, I was in the New York area as a youngster. I think it was the New York, I can't think of the name. There was a school for music. Would I have been a screenwriter of music? Would I have been a a composer? What avenue would I have chosen to go down with the instructions that a lot of people have had in their life? Because I love the sound of music just that much, and the actual creation of it, the performing of it, the just the texture of taking a melody or chords and hearing what it could sound like, and then going to a keyboard and making it sound like what you could hear. That is still very much a part of who I am and what I enjoy to do. Anyway, like I've often said, if I don't stop talking, I will keep talking. Thank you all for coming in, spending some time with me. I'm going to go get me a salad because I didn't have lunch. still trying to lose this weight. That is my own personal struggle. I've got my water here, no soda, and perhaps if it stopped raining, maybe I'll go out and shoot about 25 baskets, get the blood flowing, and then go on to the next viewer request. As you can see, I've got a list there still to get to. Love doing what I do, and I thank you all for coming in, spending some time with me. I am Samuel Tolbert, Sound of Joy Music Services. I am the third son from the top, Virgis Tolbert Sr. being the father, along with his 8 children that all love the Lord and love being involved in music. Take care. Be blessed, everyone. See you on the next live. Take care.